Mr. Harbinger.
7 o'clock, we'll call the meeting in order, and please stand for the pledge.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before we start, we have some very special people here this evening to join us. And I'd like to introduce to you Scott Hancock, our Executive Director of MML. Scott, welcome. And Candace Donahoe, the Director of Governmental Relations. Candace. And Dave Carey, Chairman of the Board of Bel Air. And of course we have Tim Alworth, the Executive Director of Local Government Insurance Trust. If you guys come up for a minute here, I'd like to present you with a little token. Nobody gives out pins, but give you a pin. Appreciate you being here.
Pleasure again.
Candace, there you go.
Pleasure.
There you go.
Good to see you.
I got it right.
I know the chief.
Very good. Okay, get the motion to accept the minutes of November 2nd.
I so move.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Motion carried. The motion to accept the financial report and payment of the bills.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. No amendments?
No,
Steve?
that's right.
Okay. Moving right along. Then we have a presentation of a training grant with Tim again from Local Government Trust. You come, you stand, sit down, or whatever you'd like to do.
Probably a little easier standing. But thank you for having me here tonight. I'm Tim Aylesworth, the Executive Director of the Local Government Insurance Trust. And on behalf of the Board of Trustees, of which we have two here tonight, Scott and Carey, I'm happy to present a check for $7,700 for a training grant for the purposes of emergency ice and snow removal. This is the first time I've had the pleasure of presenting one of these checks for something that I had an original role in early on, but I remember last year when I was up here, I had met with you, Mayor, and Mr. George and Mr. Rippall about the grant that the county had gotten, and so I'm glad that you all were able to get a grant for the same thing. To give you a little background on Legit, it was created in 1987 at a time when local governments couldn't buy insurance. The commercial insurance market had determined that local governments were poor risk, and either they couldn't get it or it was at such a cost that it was impossible to purchase. So the Maryland Municipal League and Maryland Association of Counties joined together along with 20 local government counties and municipalities in Maryland and created the Local Government Insurance Trust. I can tell you that all of my contemporaries that were with other pools are very envious of our name because they're all trying to come up with a neat name, but Legit seems to resonate well with them. Maryland did something special back in 1987. As I mentioned earlier tonight to you folks, I was with the North Carolina League and then the Virginia League in their insurance divisions. And in those states, like every other state other than Maryland and Oregon, the county association formed a pool and the municipal association formed a pool, municipal leagues. And in some instances in Virginia, they compete against one another. In the North Carolina example, they're running dual operations right across the parking lot from one another. And just a tremendous waste of resources. But folks here in Maryland had the foresight to join together and create one entity, which I have the pleasure and honor of leading. We have a great staff. We have 32 employees. We are very well funded. In the last 3 years, we've been able to give back about $9 million in your funds because it's member-owned. It's owned by the 176 member local governments in Maryland, and you're represented by 12 trustees. Board of trustees, which are made up of 5 municipal members, 5 county members, and executive directors of MML, Scott and Michael Sanderson at Mako. So With that, I am pleased to present this check for $7,700. I want to thank you all
Fantastic.
for participating in the trust, because without members like you, it wouldn't be as successful as it is. So thank you.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Then I'll turn this over to our financial director.
Pay our bills.
Okay, Human Resource Department's update. Laura,
Yes, thank you.
give us an update.
Yes, I'd like to. We've been doing very well when it comes to our recruiting. We are now, I send a monthly update, and I'll pretty much go over that. We have some numbers out there, current vacancies for the public works. They have been filled, so we are at full staff for the public works, and in the Department of our policing. We have 3 openings, which we are working on, actually 3 positions with that, with conditions of employment. So I would say that we're doing very well with our recruiting. Also, along with that, we had, with our seasonal employees, we have, at this point in time, the part-time, we have went and made them part-time employees instead of seasonal, so that we have them working with us at that time. So that has worked out very well, so that will help us have the additional staff that we need during the period of time that we're coming up with the winter snow and stuff like that. So that worked out well. Also, with a project we've been working on, Time Center and Time and Attendance, we're moving along with that process too. That will be working with the employees, working on using time, where they would be using that new time management process so that they would be clocking in and also using the websites on the computers. Okay, and also we have a safety committee, and I like to say that that's been moving along great. They have been working towards a safety mission, and with that mission, they will be presenting that safety mission once they have that all together to the board, which I'm very happy with that, because the safety commission, committee was formed from different people from all the different departments that comprise the town of Elkton.
And that's one of the things that Legit has required that we do, so that's
Yeah,
good.
and
That's
actually
something
that
that's
works
good.
with, definitely with the other group, with workers' comp too. So with
Good.
that, with the highway. Also with the handbook, we are working on comprising a new handbook with that. But along the lines with that, we've also did the code of ethics that's already been handed out and to the employees. So what we do is we're updating the current handbook, and we're also looking at actually doing a new handbook with updates.
Okay, good.
When do you think the handbook will be completed?
Well, normally new handbooks usually take about a year. So in the interim, we're updating what is necessary of the current handbook. I would probably say it's going to probably take us 6 months to get a new handbook out there, because there's a lot of change that has transpired, especially in the last few years. A lot of new federal regulations have come into place.
I was one of those that asked previously how you were doing, and fortunately you're here tonight to meet before us. And I see that you have a new initiative with the clocking in. Can you explain to the board exactly what you mean by clocking in and what relevance that have or advantages it has to the employees since it's a new program?
Yes, when I was first hired here, I was tasked with the opportunity from Louis George.
You like talk to that mic, because some of them may not hear you, and you can sit down if you like.
Not a problem, thank you. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. When I was first hired here, I was tasked with the time management project from Louis George, who was my boss, with working on a project that was already in the midst of. And when we're talking about a time management, what it is it's an electronic system where you would come into, I've been providing that with the monthly updates, where you would go in and actually have people, instead of the system we have now where everyone does it on a manual system and write in their time, you would actually go into the system and you would either go on a web base, which means you would use a computer, or else you would use a time clock. The time clocks that we have currently here, they were bought in December 29, was it December 2009, and actually put in I believe January of 2010. Okay, and they were there before I started. I've only been with the organization for 6 months.
Correct.
And I was tasked to get this project up and going. And that is what I've been doing, and I've been updating everyone on that. What that means is that some people would have the opportunity of going on the web base, which means a computer, and using their employee number to go on that. Some employees would use the clocks that have been put in prior and actually would use their employee number along with, they would use their thumb to use it as an additional access for just them to get onto the, to clock in and clock out for that. Along with that, they also, anybody that be using that time clock would also have access to use a computer. The areas that would use that would be Public Works and also our Parks and Rec, and I believe our custodian here at the location. We have one clock here at administration and one at Public Works. Now, they also would have a computer where they could go in and put in and request their vacation and their sick time. And we would show them how to do that on the computer. Along with that, we have a lot of options that they can use on that. If, for instance, that's pretty simple with that. What I also heard that is that some of our employees don't have a lot of computer skills that concerned them and us with using the web base. So that was a concern for them. So that's why also that they had the clocks. Other than that, we have been putting together that, it's been taking some time because where it was left is that we had to get everyone scheduled in, we had to get their schedules in and along that lines. So we're at the point right now that we're gearing up to using them, but with anyone dealing with your pay, we're on the process of doing a test where we would do the same process of what we've been doing, the paper process along with the web base and the time clock, because one's pay is very important and I don't want to make a mistake with one's pay. So we're doing that. So does that answer your question, or do you want to go into more detail?
So basically when an employee comes to work, they do the finger touch or the finger scan to
Clock in.
initiate their whatever.
Yeah.
Is that also the same when they depart from work?
Yes.
And at home, could you connect to the computer to find out exactly the information you said, or does it have to be done at the job site?
At this point in time, it would have to be on town of Elkton property like that. They couldn't do that at home.
I'm a little confused with the way this time clock was put in.
Yes.
And help me understand this, but I know you're new. This was before your time. I don't remember voting on putting the time clocks in as far as fingerprinting coming through. And I'm a little upset with this because this was thrown in your lap and pushed through the system, not through the board. I don't think it's, I didn't agree for this. I didn't want it. And I remember that when this was given to us, it was taken off the board. And now all of a sudden it's being installed. We didn't have anything, did you see anything in writing that we as a board agreed on this?
Well, like I said, I was tasked this when I came with to the town of Elkton.
I understand that.
And that was given to me by Louis George. So.
And again, it was a decision made by several people, but not the board. And I don't feel as though we need to discuss this before we go any further, because I don't really think that the company, or not the company, the employees are getting a fair shake on this, and I will stand up for the employees. As far as you putting the system in, I thought and understanding that you were working with the payroll. Now, the name of the program is Serenity. Is that right?
What the system is, it's Ceridian, and with Ceridian you also have what they call Time Center. And Time Center also includes the web base and also includes the clocks, okay? And that's where, when you would just see time clocks, where we bought the clocks from, they're taken, who takes care of them is Time Center. And they also take care of, they also administer the web base.
And on that note, there's where the word Ceridian program was never used to the board. It was time clocked, and it would have brought up a red flag with me. It was never used, and I feel as though it was deliberately used because I didn't know what that meant. I thought you as HR was handling the payroll structure and dealing with it the way HR deals with it. I have no right to step in and tell you you're not doing your job or what you're not doing. But this was done deliberately, underhanded, and I don't appreciate it.
Well, let me clear up something. We did discuss this at a workshop some time ago when Venus Kincaid was here, and she put it in her budget. We all voted on it to accept her recommendation to put this in. That was back some time ago.
I think when we discussed this, though, at the workshop, and I could be mistaken, we're going back to 2009, but it was discussed for better management of payroll, because we still were writing numbers down and turning in slips of paper. We did discuss the part about the time clock and realized there's so many employees that are exempt from that, with Public Works going back and forth. I mean, can you explain planning and zoning? They're in and out of here how many times a day? And that's where the confusion was. So I don't think it really was something we were going to go forward with, the clock itself. But I could be wrong. But I'm just recall that conversation. Is there going to be exempt employees from this, or how will you keep? Say Public Works was out on a water main break in the middle of the night or got called out, are they coming back and forth to Public Works to clock in and out? And how is that going to be determined? And I think that's what our conversation was at that workshop.
Okay. What would happen at that time? That would be what we call an exception. Okay, and that would have to be put in. What happens with an exception is that, no, they're not going to be able to come back, clock in and clock out. What would happen is at the time where you would have the pay period come to an end, you would have to, that would come up as an exception, and at that exception period, you would have to put that in at the end of the pay period.
And what about planning and zoning?
In a situation like that, they would have to put that in as an exception.
But I mean, they're in and out all day. Is it something they're going to be punching in and out all day?
Well, the planning...
In the morning and when they leave at night.
Yeah.
You don't, when you leave the building to go do a job, you're not off the clock.
Yeah, I guess I wanted to ask a question before it keeps going on. This is, in my understanding, I mean, I've had jobs where you had to clock in and out. I'm not understanding why this is so complicated. To clock in and clock out doesn't seem like it's that much of a big deal. I'm not understanding about an exception even. In the case where, you know, you would have Public Works go out and do a job, it seems like they would have access to the building where the equipment is, in the office, that they could actually punch in if there's going to be a location there on site. In a case like that, it seems like something like this technology would help get more of a grasp and be more accurate as far as you know, what the town is actually spending on payroll.
And I think one of the purposes when we discussed it was for payroll purposes.
Right.
They had trouble, you know, not necessarily trouble, but they were doing a lot of things by hand and pencil. And, you know, we discussed it, and we weren't sure of what the
Public Works would be doing, because there would be situations when they'd be out late, and we also talked about the fact that, you know, some of them may forget. And if I recall correctly, the only exempt party to the town of Elkton was the police department. And I think at the time, Chief, if I'm correct, you did not want that because of the activity of your men in and out and the things they have to do. So,
Yeah, in and out of court, in and out of
Right.
various events, special assignments that they don't come in here.
Right, it makes sense.
and that was discussed then.
And even though these statements are being made, there's a point that I'm making now. You didn't want it. We weren't deciding on punching in the clocks. And if I'm not mistaken, Commissioner Hicks, you was a code enforcer at that time. Am I
Yeah,
correct?
I was an employee at the time.
And
yeah.
this was my next comment, that Mr. Hicks was a code enforcer, and I was totally against that, and I had dialogue with back and forth with them, and I was really protecting the employee. You were an employee now, at that time.
Yes.
Now you're a town commissioner, not trying to put you on the spot, but we totally went against because I was fighting for you.
Well, no, I mean, look, put me on the spot.
No.
I mean, there's
It's not about that.
there's nothing to hide about that. Again, I just help me understand. Help me understand. Why would I have an issue of punching in and out?
The issue is about the clock system itself being put in under another name, Serenity, not time clock, and not really being exposed to us in the right fashion, that the way the emails were going back and forth. I had a chance to sit down and follow up on this. There was emails that used the word time clock, but yet when we talked to us, it was Serenity. I don't understand what's the difference, because you could have used the plain word time clock with me and I would have understood. It would have brought up a red flag and I would have said, no, I'm not for this. It would have been a vote on the table. It wasn't a vote.
Wait a minute, we did discuss this again at the workshop, and it was a package deal. That's the way it came. There's two parts to it. One was the check system, and then was the time management part of it. And at that time, Venus explained the whole system to us, and that's when we accepted it. We accepted the whole package.
So we should have something in writing saying we accept
It's
it.
in the meeting, the minutes.
We have to check that. Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions?
Any other questions?
But you also mentioned the fact that what is it that the employees can gain from putting in a number? You said they can get their sick time or their absences, and what are the advantages of the employees when they stick the thumb in, or however they access that, whether it's a passcode or what have you?
They can see how much time they have.
Yeah.
Yes. And that is pretty valuable there. Also, you know, they can go there on their own and see that versus having to ask or call, you know, either the finance department or the human resources, because we usually do a leave report and then they have to find out that information. And we will show them how to get that, so they should be able to. You know, so that's a convenience.
So actually, the operation is going fairly well now that you have instituted, or you still have some?
We're still in the midst of trying to institute it, okay? Because our steps now are to get everyone the training. We're in the midst of getting the training, and then we're going to be implementing it, and then there's going to be a test for 2 months to make sure that everything works out. Now, another thing is that I want to make sure that all the departments are on one system. Okay, that only makes sense, that everyone is on the same system. Not that we have one group on the old system and one group on the new system, because that will complicate things. So that's another thing that we want to bring in together, because, you know, you brought up that the police might be on one system and then other departments will be on others. So we'd like to have everybody on the same system. It's just that they might be coming on at different times, but I take this very seriously. One's payroll, so we are doing a test for 2 months to make sure that there's no hiccups in that, so that everyone gets paid.
And did this come with the training for everyone? The system we paid for, or do you have to train everyone on it?
Well, what happened is that when I came onto this, I negotiated. There was some training given before, and apparently I wasn't here, so I negotiated since I wasn't there, free training. And we actually set up a meeting for the people, the directors, and certain other supervisors to be in training, and that was done back in July. They were actually there, and it was administered by the Time Center. And then actually now we're going around with the supervisors and showing them how to actually get on that. We wrote a supervisor small manual for that, and also we're actually working with them.
You are doing that?
Myself and Kathy.
Okay.
So we're trying to give them that individual attention too, and then we're also going to have a question and answer if they have any questions or answers afterwards. But I initiated all this additional free training for us because it's not fair. You know, yes, maybe someone was trained before, but we finally got it to this point. So that's what we're doing now.
Okay, so basically you're saying everyone will be trained. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, and again, I got a little confused. Now, Commissioner Piner mentioned two different names. What was it? Serenity? Ceridan and a time clock.
Yes.
Is
But
that
we're actually talking.
Ceridian.
Ceridian does the payroll. We get our checks now from Ceridian.
Yes.
Okay.
They don't monitor the time. We manually give them the time. Now the time center is the mechanism by which time is transmitted electronically to them and matches up. So that's where we get a payroll.
Right.
There shouldn't be, and Ms. Brown is saying that for a 2-month period, we'll run a parallel, just like we did with the Ceridian.
For payroll.
Glitches out of it. Then when you punch your time or go on your web base and sign in, that's your time.
So we'll end up with one compatible system.
Yeah, just like there's many companies that do this. I mean, it's not really unusual.
So,
They serve a lot of clients.
so with this program, the money that was budgeted for this, I'm asking you this, Steve, are we within budget or are we over budget?
This started a couple years ago, like the mayor mentioned, and for various reasons it never, took off completely. But
Is it in budget or over?
It is budget. There were one-time costs, setup costs. You had to buy the clocks, for instance. They were about $3,500. There was training unique to just the time clock piece of this, which is separate, as Mr. George said, from actually running the checks. Now we're to the point of budgeting just the processing costs, the per payroll processing costs, the quarterly costs associated with it.
But is it in the budget or over the budget?
It is in the budget. Here we have about $12,000 in the budget for all the processing costs and quarterly costs. But the hardware was already purchased, like you said, I think the end of December '09 and beginning of January 2010. We've had the actual clocks, the 2 clocks we've actually had them for a couple of years before we got them up and running. And actually, initially we thought that this time clock or time center module had to be done at the same time as Ceridian, which is actually the name that actually processes the paychecks themselves, which you'll see, you saw from the spring, you have different looking checks. But then we realized that it did not have to be done at the same time, so we just went with the payroll part of it, the actual printing of the checks. Now we're trying to get the time clock system on board to ultimately eliminate the handwritten time sheets that we currently use.
And now, what changes actually affect the employee as far as what they have to do? It's just a matter of clocking in and out, correct?
Well, they would use their thumb and they would use their employee number.
Okay.
So that would be different, whereas before they're writing it down.
Right.
Now, of course, there's people that feel more comfortable writing something down than using that. It's pretty much their individual tastes,
Okay.
And also, when we have to make a change, we'll now have to do it as an exception instead of someone erasing something and putting it down.
Okay.
Okay.
And you'll have different locations, obviously. One in this building, one, okay. Each
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
So they use their thumb when they come to work. I got that. So when do they use that number? When they want to retrieve information?
No, they have to use the number and their thumb.
The thumb wouldn't work alone.
Well,
And the reason why I said I've seen systems where you push the thumb, flashes your picture up, or a number, obviously, but you have, it's not like that.
Well, Time Center said that they use both just for security
Okay,
purposes
security
for
reasons.
some reason. So I guess they want double security.
What is the attitude of the employees, even though, you know, sometime when you do something new or there's a technological change, sometime you always have that little bit of fear. What has been the attitude of the employees here thus far?
Well, I've seen a lot of hesitation. A lot of hesitation.
What do you mean by hesitation?
Well, to be honest with you,
What was the reason?
well, they really haven't given me a specific reason. I think it's change.
Yeah, change. Everyone's uncomfortable with change.
Yeah, and I guess change has been the big one, and I guess also I've seen normal change, but they really are hesitant to use it. And I don't want to put words in someone's mouth,
Sure.
but they really don't want to use it. And I brought it up, and I've said, I've really never seen this, and I brought it up to my boss too. So I don't know if it's just change or it's more than that. I haven't been here long enough, I'll be honest with you, to
Right.
really evaluate that. And I don't know if it's because it's been long in coming. I don't know what has transpired before me. So I don't really feel adequate to really describe why the hesitation. I think if anything, I would think the other directors and probably, you know, other people would probably have a better idea than myself.
The
Even
word,
you.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Have the employees been presented with, I guess, a reason?
That was going to be my next question.
A
I'm glad
reason
you asked
why? Yeah, a reason why we decided or going in this direction?
That's pretty much what I would want to ask pretty much my people before me. Have they been? Because I pretty much am looking at it as convenience, efficiency, the fact that we can record things like that. You know, that's what I'm looking, that's what I've expressed. The fact that, you know, a lot of towns do have this type of system, that it is efficient, it is convenient, and along that. So that's how I've expressed it. Now, what was before me, I can't speak to that.
I don't think anything was explained to
I don't
them
know if
before.
Venus did or not.
A lot of people's morals are shattered a little bit based on trust, and they feel as though they're being micromanaged by certain people. Plain and simple. Their trust
That's
factor.
what went before
That's
me?
what it is.
Okay.
Yeah. So I really think, you know, change without any type of explanation or reason is tough. I mean, it's like telling a joke but only giving the punchline. You know, you owe your audience, or you owe your attendees to the explanation of why things are happening. And I know that's not on you.
I know, but that's what I've been
But
given,
that-
is the fact that it'll be more efficient, it'll be easier and stuff like that. But, you know, also, has that come from all levels, including
Right.
the board, and
Right.
has that come from all direction? You know, that, I'm pretty much looking at the board, you know, has that been communicated? Because that's important, because they do look up to everyone.
Right. I can only speak as a former employee. I would have a problem if nothing was explained.
Okay.
We're just doing it, then everything starts racing. You know, is it a trust issue? You know, I've been working here for 5 years. I've never had an issue. Now, do you not trust me to punch in and out? That could be a simple issue as far as that goes. But me personally, I mean, I never had a problem with the change.
But you would think with any change that somebody, top level management, is going to explain to the employees collectively why we're doing this.
They're owed that. You're right.
You're right. So I don't know whether that was done or not, but that certainly would be evident, I think.
Right. So if there's any recommendations, because we have to come with a united front.
Right.
Everyone has to be on the same page, from the HR department all the way up to top, is that we all feel that this is a positive thing. If we don't come as a united front, then you're going to have, you know, then they're going to say, well, wait a minute, if we don't all feel this way, of course, you know, we have reason to feel that way.
Right.
Yeah, because we don't know what the previous director had said anything to them or not prior to this being discussed and actually.
She did,
But
meetings
she
with
did?
them, Public Works, when the climate class went in. We just had meetings with them.
Okay, so they were to them.
But you can never give enough support to employees, and I think that's a constant thing we live with every day, is to support the employees, and that's what I feel is important.
Mayor, I think the board is owed the right to know how this was given to her. Do you mind explaining? I followed through. You can explain if you want.
Well, Lewis, this part of the thing was budgeted, and that we just followed through with it, that's all.
Yeah, you pushed Lewis.
I didn't.
You pushed Lewis
We
to get it through to Kathy, and you and her and him dealt with it, not the board. I
Well,
followed through with
it
this,
was in the
okay?
budget, and it got dropped of the
It
previous thing.
it got dropped,
and I
right.
brought- It got dropped by her, she dropped the ball, and we had to
And
redo it.
it was
and
never
restart
brought
it.
up again. I'm still saying
No.
it was put on the table illegally. That's what I'm going to use the word. You and Lewis dealt with Laura about this, and like I said, I followed through this. I had a nice long conversation with her, and I still feel the board needs to sit and discuss whether to go on further with this.
You've got a lot of man hours and money invested in
I'd like to
this.
say
I didn't do anything
something. I don't
illegal.
do anything that's illegal.
What's illegal? I didn't do anything illegal. It was
That's
all
a bad
done.
term to use for me, and
Yeah.
it's not.
I did not do
proper
anything
way to
illegal.
say it, because we followed through with the budget approved by the board. Ceridian and the Time Center, a process that I directed the HR director to follow through, and she's doing her job.
Two different.
So I don't understand why it's illegal. It's
And
not.
I followed up with Lewis to see how the job was going, if we're still
Okay.
doing it, that's all.
All right. You pushed it through with Lewis. Okay, thanks.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you.
I just say that you would keep us apprised of any
I was
changes,
gonna say
anything when
the
it comes to
same
that, if you
thing,
will.
I'm sorry.
Just ask if you would keep us apprised since you have a new initiative of pros, cons, good and bad,
Oh,
and
definitely.
anything like that.
I usually give an update in my monthly report that I carbon everybody in, so I will definitely give the pros and cons of that.
May I suggest one more thing? And I'm sure it's already been done. But based on the conversation that's been held tonight, would we be able to send out some type of memo, basically restating the reasons why this is taking place and the advantages to the town as well as the employees? Has it already been done in a memo, more formal? If we can do that and maybe, make sure that everyone is aware of it and knows it, I think that would definitely help.
Okay, what I can do is draft up a memo along that lines and have it sent to Lewis, and then we can look it over and then send it to the board for review, and then send it out to the employees. Would that be sufficient?
Fine.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
She was willing to come to the board and to discuss this matter to us earlier, but she was told not to come to the board and speak to us. And I had a long conversation with her, and I still say that I feel as though we should have looked at this a little harder, because she could have brought this to light to us, but she was told not to come in front of the board.
Okay, Lewis.
Okay, the first item, well, I have one item tonight, bringing up ordinance 5-2011. Adjusting water and sewer rates. Initially, this was introduced to the board on August 3rd and was presented for adoption on the 17th. However, the board decided at that time that the ordinance needed further study. We have not made any amendments to the ordinance as it was initially introduced, and I would present it again tonight as of this date for introduction. The reason I present it again is because under the town charter, you cannot pass an ordinance if you choose to do so 60 days beyond when it was introduced, so it has to be reintroduced. Of course, we had the public hearing, and we also had another presentation by Municipal Financial Services explaining the basis for these rates to drive our revenue consistent with our expenditures. So I would ask the board to accept it for introduction tonight.
So with the introduction piece, that does not dictate nor does it come with an arbitrary fixed rate of the water and sewer, correct?
The rates are not arbitrary, they're stated in.
No, I don't think you mixed follow what I'm saying.
No.
Introduction purpose basically mean that it's going to be introduced. It does not mean that you are voting on rates because, right, this is what I'm saying, because we're still in the process of trying to find reasonable rates, if that's such a thing I can say.
Yes.
And for that reason, I'll make the motion that we bring it for introduction purposes only.
Okay, do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
That's all I have.
Okay. Okay, old business. Last time we had discussed the bicycle advisory committee. I said I'd try and make some appointments this time. Well, we've gotten some people that have volunteered to serve on that committee. And I'd like to appoint these people. As far as our staff goes, it's Teresa Thomas and Stacy Cook. I don't know if you want to do these all at one time, or. And then the volunteers are Cindy Woods, works at W.L. Gore, Jane Murray, she's a judge. I did talk to her and asked her if she still wanted to serve since she's just become a judge, and she said yes, she definitely wants to be on there. And Ron Cheerside, Mary Jo recommended, and Kevin Titter, and Charles Downey, recommended by Will Matco to serve on our new Bicycle Advisory Committee.
So that's a total of how many?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, that's
And that's the number you're going to have?
right. We figured to do that just in case some of these people have changed their mind in between the time then, but we could deal with the 7, and it would also keep us going in case someone didn't show up at a meeting.
Makes sense.
So it worked out that way. It'd be a better way to have it. So if I can get a motion to accept those to our new.
So move.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. And then the other one problem, not a problem, but the other thing opening we had at the time, a discussion with some people in regards to our Ethics Commission, and I decided on Ford Hamilton to serve on the Ethics Commission. So if I get a motion to accept Ford Hamilton for the Ethics Commission.
So moved.
I'll second.
Any other discussion?
Yes, for the, what's the background? Or, you didn't supply that, or we don't do that. Okay, I'll pass on that.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carried. That's the only thing I had on old business. Okay, Mary Jo, any old business?
Old business, I want to make sure we have a meeting with Severn Trent to discuss the contract at an upcoming workshop. I just want to make sure that that happens. And that's it for old business.
December 14th.
That's,
December 14th.
yeah, I wrote it down.
Anything else?
Mary Jo, you finished?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I have 2 things to report. For the recreation or community center, whichever one we're going to call it, we have picked a site that we're planning on looking at and dealing with, and that's the this one is the Elk Landing site that is owned by the town. So that's just a little update on the recreation or community center. Then there was a request to give an update on the blighted properties that was asked a few meetings ago, and it was 10 properties. One is 124 East Main Street. This is an update on what's going on with the property. Property has been demolished, and black women mental safety fence has been installed, and the owner has no present plan for the redevelopment. Number 2, 236 East Main Street. Windows replaced, the doors boarded up or secured, and the owner was contacted and stated that he was putting the property up for sale. Grass has been cut and bushes trimmed, so there are no current violations. The RMR plans were approved and work stated for gutting and construction and shell building. However, developers stopped working with the economic slumps, and no changes other than grass has been cut. I'm not sure what we're going to do about that, but I think once I get finished reading this, might want to request the code enforcers to go back and assess these properties just to see where they're at, or is this current as of today? Okay, the fourth property is 214 East Main Street. The interior was recently inspected to ascertain whether the interior foundation and other structural work was continuing, and found nothing had been done. Permit for renovation has expired. Plan to discuss with Mr. Wilson. No change, no violations. 320 North Street. Grass letter has been sent. Letter regarding cleanup for interior property has been sent. New owner, rehab in progress. Number 6, 109-111 Stockton Street. Maintenance letter sent or missing front siding and other minor issues. Landlord is process of evicting tenant and will repair units. Number 7, 119 Stockton Street. Letter has been sent for high grass and interior property issues. Landlord is process of evicting tenant and will repair units. Number 8, 240 West High Street. Second letter was sent regarding interior of premise. If no immediate response, summons will be issued. Criminal summons applied for, it says name Mark Saunders, but was rejected by court commissioners. Will reword and apply again. Number 9, 140 West High Street. Building is unsecured. Rear is missing. Interior wall. Tree down on garage roof. High grass, junking yard. Letter was sent. Owner has issued with zoning. However, property is scheduled for tax sale. Owner met with Louis George about rebuilding property. And final, number 10, George's Restaurant, Pulaski Highway. Dr. Hoffman is considering purchasing the property. Property has been repossessed by Cecil Bank, who has lower levels of building boarded up, but nothing has been done since. Bank was contacted by John Smith and informed him that they have no plans for additional work at the property. And I do believe there is someone in negotiation for the George's Restaurant building. That's it.
Also, they did board up all the houses and stuff in the back. They did have a contractor come in and board them up. We went down, took a look at it, and it's all boarded up. And I did contact Mary and thanked her for following through with everything and make sure it was taken care of.
We sent a letter off to Artesian last week, Lois. Has there been any response yet?
The letter was from the mayor still.
Well, it's one and the same. Has there been a response?
The reason I hesitated because it would go to the mayor and might not be to me.
Yeah, I didn't get nothing.
Okay.
Well, I know you sent her an email by letting her know ahead of time that too. She might respond back to you. I don't know yet.
No,
Because right now I haven't got nothing back.
Okay.
No, okay. That's it. Okay. Another thing now for us, new business is in front of you, I gave you all a Wilmapco public opinion survey results that they did for Cecil County and around our area. It's very interesting. You need to look at it. It talks about the traffic and congestion periods and things like that. It's very informative as to what people think as far as transportation goes in and around the county here. How much what they think as far as using automobiles, the train and all. So just take a look at it. I think it's very interesting. And with the train situation, bring up an update on that, we did make some headways with that. We finally got the state MTA and MDOT to start working with us to help us out with it. And MTA is going to be giving us a consultant or so to help us work with this. So I'm going to be meeting with them sometime in January to get this on board and meet with some of the people around town that, excuse me, we can get busy back on this thing and get it back on track. The other thing I know, we got we got a letter in the mail about a complaint against the people in Hollingsworth Manor. I did talk to John in regards to the chickens and stuff that they have over there, and he is looking at that and taking care of that situation. Also, we need to, if we're going to, we need to get a motion tonight to waive the meters, 2-hour limit parking in the downtown business district starting Thanksgiving to New Year's Day of November 24th through January 2nd, if we want to do it again this year.
So moved.
Second.
Second, I have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. And I think that's it. All right, Joe?
I just wanted to announce, in the paper today, it said the town, the offices were closed this week and the recycling route was changed. It was a mistake. It's next week for the Thanksgiving holiday. The Thursday pickup will be Friday and Friday will be Saturday for recycling. I believe the WIG has been made aware of the mistake, so they're going to post something else. Yes, we hope. And that's it. I want to wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving.
I have nothing.
Also, there's a lot of leaves around near Wright's Church on Booth Street where you have the picker-upper truck ride through, please. That's it. Yeah, Mary Jo, anything new downtown that's happening as far as building goes or any changes that we need to know?
We have a new business opening on North Street. They're looking at January 1st, and there's 2 other new businesses that are looking to open in the beginning of the year.
There's a business, I believe, trying to open up where Hershey's used to be. You remember where Hershey's used to be? You don't know. Oh, you don't?
I do.
Jamaican, is it?
Oh, the Jamaican, yeah, he's opening, he should have been open, but he has to put the grease screen in, the grease trap into the sewer, and as soon as he does that, he'll be open.
Okay.
It's Jamaican cuisine, spicy and nice.
Used to be a shop there called Hershey's a long time ago.
Oh, okay.
Used to be from Kills.
Yeah. That's it.
Okay. Mr. Litzenberg?
I can speak from here. Just would thank Mr. Piner for bringing up the issues on the blighted houses. I think you're following through with it. On your workshops for policy, do you normally vote on policy at your workshops, or do you vote here before the public?
We just take a consensus and then we vote here in the public.
Well, evidently you voted for the time cards from what you're stated at the workshop. That's my question. Do you vote for policy here, or do you vote in your workshop?
But that was included in the budget, so when we voted on the budget, it was improved at that time.
It was improved, that was never mentioned here at this meeting, because we haven't missed any of them. So evidently you're...
That was approved in the budget, what, back in 2009? Yeah. Carol?
Was it approved as a line item in the budget? What department was it approved under? Personnel?
HR.
Human resources.
Human resource.
HR, okay.
Carol Graspo?
Yeah, I just came in to get a follow-up from my last time I was here. They was going to go and check out why the ordinance wasn't followed through with.
Did we check with John to see if he went out and looked at it?
Unenforceable.
Unenforceable?
I think it's on with Mr. Wilson.
Unenforceable? Can you explain that?
No, I can't. The reason I can't is because the Building and Zoning Department consulted with Mr. Wilson, I wasn't privy to it.
Okay.
So what was the explanation why the ordinance, when it wasn't followed through with by the homeowner,
They would have to go.
why the charges were dropped from court?
If I have to see our building inspector, Craig Trossel, talk to him, he can tell you. Okay? Just stop in and see him.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
Well, there's nothing else.
I'd like to call for a closed meeting to discuss any personnel matters that affects one or more specific individuals, and also to consider the investments of public funds.
Okay, I have a motion for a closed meeting.
That's a move.
Second.
Second?
Okay, all those in favor? Motion carried. We will not be reconvening.